To avoid top shots, make sure you do these three things correctly. Control the radius of your golf swing, shift your pressure, and have the correct intention during your golf swing. Keep listening to find out more. So topping the ball is something that we all do and we all hate, I'm sure. And there's three main reasons for this shot. The first reason, I would say, is about shifting the pressure. Guys who top the ball nearly always will have the pressure too much on the trail side during the swing. And that's either caused from the kind of pressure movement with the upper body or lower body. Essentially what we're looking to see is, as we swing down, the lower half shift laterally, about 5 to 6 inches, and the upper half to follow closely behind that. I would always want to see a gap between the upper and lower body in terms of that lateral movement, and we call that lateral separation. And then after we get the lateral movement, then we'd follow that with rotation. So don't worry, people who think we're not rotating here, we are. But we have to make sure we shift across without getting the left shoulder going too high, which then causes the low point of the golf swing to happen too early. And then quite often what will happen, you'll either hit a big divot behind the golf ball, or the club will skim the ground or get close to the ground and then come up on the ball and top it. So the first thing to really focus on is making sure that we shift through the golf ball as best we can. So if I tell you to make a little practice swing here and just step after the ball, that'll give you a feeling of shifting your pressure with everything. If we just go the lead foot step, that makes you feel more just the lower half. The step through gets you feeling everything's going through the golf ball. And it's quite a good idea to go ahead and hit some shots where you just walk after the ball, like Gary Player did, for example. And that way there will give you a real sense of, okay, this is everything going forward. If you find that a particularly hard thing to do, it'll tell you pretty much what's going on with your pressure at the moment. So that's kind of option one. Let's make sure we shift our pressure with everything through the golf ball, ideally with the lower half leading. Point number two is really the radius of the golf swing. And if you imagine the circle created by the golf club as we swing the golf club in motion, if that radius is raised up, generally caused by my spine moving away from the golf ball or my arm shortening, then there's no way, even with a very good looking golf swing, that the club will meet the ball in the correct spot. Effectively, we're just taking that circle and picking it up, making a swing and hitting the ball in the low part of the face, halfway up the ball or even higher, which makes the ball come off the club particularly horrible. Getting the radius low is essential to let the ground dynamics work naturally through the hitting zone. So what we want to feel with this, ideally, is when we swing the golf club, we have structure in the arms, and we feel that the hands and rib cage get low in this scenario here in the delivery position. From there, then, it can be more of an upward and standing upward action through the hitting zone. And that should be pretty natural. Shouldn't be something you work on or have to think about, but certainly most golfers have to get lower. Nearly all high handicappers I look at on video on a daily and weekly scenario, this rib cage is too forward and too high. And I know we've said earlier we want to make sure we go forward, but it has to be behind the lower half. So the rib cage being low, moving forward is ideal. Almost the low movement precedes the forward movement. So it's almost kind of rib cage down and forward. It's that kind of action, and the hands want to go really low. Justin Rose practices a lot. He talks about keeping his back to target and his hands working down low. And I always talk about the kneecap as a great reference point. Justin Rose, when he practices, is actually below his kneecap, but the ideal scenario in reality when we hit shots is probably between the pocket and the kneecap is pretty good. So just feeling we get low and we keep the spine low and making practice swings where we stand tall and get into the ground is a great way of feeling that, and then go to the golf ball and try and repeat that action. And there, got a nice bruising in the turf there, trying to get that feeling of being low pre-contact, but still trying to get through the golf ball. Point number three is more about the mental intention. So many golfers are so worried about contact and getting the ball up in the air that they end up having a swing that kind of looks like this, which then makes it very difficult to do the things we've already talked about, shift the pressure and get that low point after the golf ball. So having the correct intention is vital. Thinking about the follow through and hitting through the golf ball rather than at the golf ball, for me, is a no-brainer as a simple thought, particularly on the golf course. Make sure every time you swing, you have a maximum of 2 thoughts, and one of them, for me, should always be about, can I get in the perfect fall-through position? Can I be committed to really drive through the golf ball and kind of pose my finish position? And hold it for a couple of seconds if you can. So have that as your attention on the golf course. You can have a backswing thought if you want one. Something like I think of, for example, is my left shoulder going down and across, then getting into that finish position. And that would be the 2 thoughts that I would take to the golf course if I'm not working at anything more specific in my golf swing. But the reasons why we top the golf ball are generally always because of these 3 things we've discussed today in this video. So if you top the golf ball, try these three things, and I'm sure, almost guarantee, that would improve your contact no end.